Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on this Monday morning. We've got a lot to cover. A little bit later on, we're going to hear all about the Steuben County Fair, which kicks off today with harness racing. Nick Pelham will be our guest. First, let's start with a viewer comment. This came in Friday. Frank, I just would like to speak to those who would even consider voting for a socialistic communist. If you have ever even considered being upwardly mobile, you can forget it. Under this form of government, you'll be relegated to the class you came from. If you were poor, you will still be poor and will be, more importantly, under total control of the government. In other words, from England's history, for example, forget what your last name currently is. Your last name will become contingent upon what your last occupation was. For example, if you were a waiter, you would now become known as insert first name waiter. There are just so many negatives in comparison to what we in the United States have, because it becomes way too lengthy to impart herein. Suffice to suggest that you will be making a very poor decision to even consider a socialistic communist, to even be considered for the least of any township's least positions of importance. Vote Republican and do what you will to get upstate New York known as the 51st state of the Union. Thank you very much. We're going to actually talk about this rise of socialism and the Democrat Socialists of America a little bit later on. I do have a couple updates just from stories we brought to you or news stories. Now, we learned over the weekend that Tehran's military chief put out a $30,000 reward for anyone who kills or captures a U.S. soldier, with the reward doubled for Iranian women. But it remains clear how they can carry out the orders. Iranian Army Chief Amir Hatami said there was a large number of requests for bounties to be put on the American soldiers, despite the lack of U.S. ground forces in Iran. Quote, anyone who kills or captures and hands over an invading American military personnel will receive a reward equivalent to $30,000 or 5 billion tomans from the Islamic Republic of Iran's army. Courageous Iranian women who carry out such an action will receive double the award, he added. The Army chief even claimed that the weapon used to kill an American would be kept in the supposed museum currently under planning. Hatami, however, made no mention of when and where attacks on U.S. soldiers who are stationed beyond the reach of the average Iranians would take place. The 18 U.S. troops who have died since the war with Iran began on February 28th have all died outside the country in airstrikes and munition incidents. The last time a U.S. soldier was on Iranian soil was in April when an F-15E fighter jet went down, resulting in a quick rescue mission for its pilot and weapons specialist. The bounty announcement comes after President Trump repeatedly accused Iran of struggling to pay its troops as the renewed U.S. naval blockade continues to bleed the Islamic Republic's finances. Iran's currency has plummeted to record lows during the war, while the nation's inflation has also skyrocketed to historic levels. Now, Newt Gingrich said Iran is wearing down the American public to defeat the U.S. politically. What? Iran is wearing down the American public to defeat the U.S. politically, attempting to copy North Vietnam's playbook against President Trump, and electing Democrats to Congress in November will play right into their hands, he said on Kat's Roundtable radio show yesterday. Gingrich theorized that Tehran is banking on Democrats roaring back to power and opening a bevy of investigations into Trump that will keep him distracted from achieving his military objectives. Quote, the North Vietnamese knew they could never defeat us militarily, but they could defeat us politically, Gingrich said. Their whole effort was designed to get the American news media to turn against the war, and then to have the American political system break and conclude that it wouldn't sustain the war. The Iranians have a strategy very much like the North Vietnamese communists. Their goal is to survive, to not give in to anything basic. Polls have shown that the war in Iran is unpopular, but Trump has conducted it through an air campaign rather than a full-blown invasion like the Vietnam War, which had tens of thousands of American casualties and triggered intense anti-war protests at home. Gingrich stressed that like North Vietnam, Iran is focusing on trying to win in American politically what they can't possibly win militarily. Trump has long declared that his chief objective of the war in Iran is to ensure that the Islamist regime does not obtain a nuclear weapon. Trump has claimed that his team is semi-negotiating with Iran as the Pentagon scrambles to ramp up production of critical air defense and cruise missiles. Trump, while he was in Long Island last week, said, after we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. So there you go. There's your Iran updates. Now, last week we talked quite a bit about the education system and the collapse of the education system. Well, there's a UC Berkeley mathematics professor. She has slammed admission standards at the top flight university, where she says huge portions of her students are failing to keep up with college calculus, and she's forced to teach middle school algebra and fractions to students, saying, quote, some students are 5 to 8 years behind in mathematics. Office hours that should be spent discussing integrals instead become lessons on fractions and basic algebra you would expect students to learn in middle school. This is in an op-ed piece on Saturday. Zendalina Stakova, who rose to the mathematic world to earn a PhD from Harvard after being born in communist Bulgaria, described the admissions process as less like careful evaluation and more like chance. She has long been an evangelist for teaching math and founded the Berkeley Math Circle, as well as a local math Olympiad for high school kids. But she says the standards for students at the country's most elite public university have made its campus a laughingstock. She is one of thousands of faculty members who have signed upon open letters earlier this year calling for the restoration of the SAT and ACT in admission to ensure that best students are getting in. Standardized testing was phased out at UC Berkeley in 2020 after then college president Janet Napolitano, who was Homeland Security Secretary for President Barack Obama, overruled a task force that called for the entrance exams to be kept. Citing COVID pandemic disruptions and concerns over equity, testing was made optional later in 2020, with a court ruling subsequently requiring UC to become test blind through 2025. Wow. And that policy has had a horrible effect on the standards of UC Berkeley, according to Stankova. Berkeley has one of the lowest acceptance rates of any public universities in the country, admitting just 10.5% of applicants. Stankova cited a diagnostics exam administered to Calculus 1 students before 2020, which showed 71% of students tested were ready or nearly ready to study calculus. Just 0.14% of those tested between 2018 and 2020 tested below basic in algebra. But between 2021 and 2023, just 44% of students tested as ready or nearly ready to study calculus. You get the idea. Also, I guess it's not just the students, but a Harvard professor is in hot water over claims that an anti-President Trump opinion article that he wrote for the Financial Times was almost entirely AI generated. The article by former Venezuelan government minister Ricardo Hosman now includes a disclaimer from the Financial Times following the publication on Thursday. Quote, it has come to our attention that AI was used to condense a longer draft of this column prior to submission to the Financial Times and our own editorial involvement. The FT editorial code of conduct specifically prohibits the use of AI in the writing process. It came after the op-ed which criticized President Trump's tariffs was called out on social media over its stilted prose. Quote, gotta be the worst AI slop I've seen in a major publication. Another ex-user shared a grab from AI detector Pangram, which showed that the 841-word piece was 71% AI generated. At a time when many in academia are fighting back against growing numbers of students relying on AI for their work, the idea of a top Harvard Kennedy Center of Government academic using the technology for their work was particularly dispiriting, saying, quote, it's going to be very difficult this academic year trying to encourage students to write persuasively with creativity, individuality, and style when a star econ professor at Harvard Kennedy School publishes such easily ID'd AI slop in the Financial Times, said Michael Sokolow of the University of Maine. Even fans of Hosman's work appeared horrified that such a respected economist would use AI to write an article, which was then placed behind a paywall. Bloomberg's Joe Wiesenthal described how he had learned a lot from Hosman and enjoyed talking with him in the past. I find this astonishing, both in its writing and its publication. Hausman, a former government minister in his native Venezuela, did not respond immediately to requests for comment. The Financial Times and the Harvard Kennedy School were also approached for comments. That's from our friends at the New York Post. All right, we got a lot more to cover. I know we're going through some topics very quickly. I see now there's talks of getting rid of the nickel. We already got rid of the penny. Well, months after winding down the penny, U.S. lawmakers are eyeing making big changes to the nickel, as well as how Americans pay for goods with cash. The Senate passed the Common Sense Act with unanimous consent on August 7th, about a month after a similar version of the bill passed in the House. However, since the House and Senate passed two different pieces of legislation, an identical bill must still clear both chambers before it can be sent to President Trump's desk. The new Common Sense Act would codify the end of penny production after the U.S. minted its final batch of coins for circulation in November of 2025. It would also provide some much-needed guidance for businesses on how to operate without the once essential 1-cent coin. While the days of purchasing something for a single cent are long gone, no framework was provided to businesses or retailers for how to move forward without the penny. As a result, some retailers rounded prices after the penny was discontinued to avoid shortchanging people. The bill would make it possible for retailers to round cash transactions to the nearest 5 cents when they are unable to provide exact change to a customer. The production of the penny was halted in November as wasteful by President Trump. As such, each penny cost 3.69 cents to produce, which said the U.S. Mint said the country lost $83 million producing them in a year. If enacted, cash totals that end in 1, 2, or 7 cents can be rounded down to the nearest amount divisible by 5. Meanwhile, totals ending in 3, 4, 8, or 9 cents can be rounded up. The approximately 300 billion pennies currently in circulation will remain legal tender, even though they are rarely essential for financial transactions. However, transaction totals for electronic credit card, or debit card payments would remain exact. Currently, rounding is still governed by state law, and retailers may be vulnerable to litigation if they are unable to provide customers with exact change, even if they end up rounding down in favor of the customer. Several groups that support businesses and retailers were in support of the bill. The National Grocers Association, the trade association representing the independent supermarket industry, applauded the legislation, saying it provides retailers with a clear legal authority and protection to round cash transactions to the nearest nickel after the end of penny production. All right, enough on that. A new design, it says here, as of now, the nickel is not yet changing and remains legal tender. However, another bill, H.R. 1270, which would suspend the production of the nickel, remains stalled in a House committee. There you go. All right. We're covering a lot this morning. Stay with us. We're just getting warmed up on this Monday morning edition of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missiles.
Highest hospitalization. Also evacuation in the West.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout the next few days.
It's layaway or swimming pool. full-time at Hesselson's for next year. With Hesselson's Easy Layaway Plan, only $500 down guarantees you this year's price and gets you on an early installation date for next year. But hurry in, as next year's list will fill fast. Same great pricing, same great service, same great installation. Come in early so you can enjoy your new swimming pool all summer long. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated swimming pool store since 1955, will always be there for you today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Regarding the penny, why wouldn't a cheaper material be used to make it, like tin or plastic? That's a fair question. I don't have the answer for that. Now, Trump is blaming vandals for a large spot of dead grass on the National Mall near the World War II Memorial. It was the same area where the president hosted crowds for a 4th of July celebration. Trump made the claim without providing evidence, according to Fox News, or explaining why he believes vandals damaged the grass. He shared a photo showing an area by the World War II Memorial with patches of brown and dead grass across much of the sprawling turf that was previously full of green grass, saying, quote, "Look what vandals did to the grass, connecting the vandalized World War II monument and the vandalized reflecting pool, which will be reopened again and better than ever shortly. Anybody who thinks the reflecting pool wasn't vandalized should go back to law school." Uh-oh. That could be a swipe at Elmira native Judge Jeanine Pirro. Trump had a large stage built and invited crowds to the same lawn for his Independence Day celebration last month. He is now blaming vandals for the grass damage. Well, we know that vandals had damaged the grass in the past, putting negative statements about the president. Actually, the death threat, didn't they put 8647 at one point? Photos from the celebration show a large bandstand and seating areas covering nearly the entire lawn Trump now says was damaged by vandals. Photos from subsequent days showed workers removing the structures, revealing brown and damaged grass underneath. The photographs show the event infrastructure occupied much of the affected lawn and do not by themselves establish what caused all the grass damage. On Friday, an arrest was made in connection with vandalism at the World War II Memorial after the words "clean hands, dirty money" were found painted on the monument and bubbles filled a fountain. Felony charges in that case are being brought against Melissa Ferris. Charging documents in that case do not mention the once grassy area Trump referred to in his social media post. All right. Also, oh man, we got so many things that there's no real way to segue. Oh, did you see that Oprah Winfrey, now washing her hands of Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz because of their pro-Trump politics? People criticize me for Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz because of their politics or their views. Everybody has their own path in life, and it has not one thing to do with me, and I don't have one thing to do with them either. The distancing is striking because Winfrey was instrumental in introducing both men to a mass audience on the Oprah Winfrey Show before her Harpo productions helped turn them into standalone television brands. Winfrey acknowledged as much, saying that the reason she gave both men their breaks was that she believed they had information worth sharing. Quote, "At the time, the reason and intention behind me giving them their breaks was I thought they had valuable information to share that had been meaningful to me. Dr. Phil, he was so practical, so down to earth, so real. And he would ride in the car with me every morning on the way to trial, where I literally sitting on trial for 6 weeks. I felt that, and with Winfrey St. McGraw's advice made such an impression that she decided to put him before her viewers. I felt that it was so instrumental in helping me. I thought, oh, you could help a lot of people. You should come on my show." Dr. Phil became one of Oprah's most familiar experts, ultimately logging 118 appearances. His first book, Life Strategies, became a bestseller in 1999, with Publishers Weekly crediting Oprah's endorsement as one factor behind his success. Harpo then created Dr. Phil, which premiered in September of 2002 as the first spin-off from the Oprah Winfrey Show. The show became a daytime juggernaut, ranking behind only Oprah for 9 seasons before taking over as the syndicated daytime talk leader after Winfrey ended her show back in 2011. But Dr. Phil appeared with Trump and at Trump rallies. He was appointed to the Religious Liberty Commission in May of last year. Winfrey, by contrast, has repeatedly backed Democrats, even while describing herself as a registered independent. She endorsed Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Kamala Harris, and campaigned for Stacey Abrams in Georgia. Winfrey said longtime pal Gayle King first introduced her to Dr. Oz, whose skill at translating medical subjects for ordinary viewers convinced her to bring him onto the show. Gayle introduced me to Dr. Oz. He explained practical things like colon cancer and bowel movements. I thought he had the language for explaining medical things in a way that was very helpful to me. I thought it would be helpful to many other people as well. Isn't it amazing that she has to disavow these people just because they supported Trump? Okay. Worth mentioning, Dr. Oz, of course, in the administration. But that kind of ties in with just media bias in general. We talked about this quite a bit last week, but I thought this was worth noting. Tim Graham at Fox News says the coverage of political scandals is one of the most obvious fields of study for anyone looking at media bias. The same people who unconvincingly claimed President Barack Obama's presidency was largely scandal-free can manufacture a scandal a day under President Trump. The alleged outrageous scandal of this week happened in Turkey, where the Secret Service advised Trump to switch to a different military plane to fly home, while the press and top administration officials stayed on Air Force One. But they were told the president wasn't on board. But they were not told that President Trump was not on board. As soon as the Washington Post had the story, the anti-Trump spin kicked in. Reporters were left on a decoy plane that could have been shot down by the Iranians. While the broadcast networks love to open up their newscasts with severe weather updates to grab viewer attention, this mini scandal led CBS and NBC on Tuesday night, and ABC jumped in right after the weather. On PBS's NewsHour, anchor Jeff Bennett exemplified the tone. Quote, how unusual is it for the Secret Service to turn Air Force One and its passengers, to include White House staff, the traveling press, into a decoy? Correspondent Nick Schifrin explained that this happened before with President Bill Clinton in Pakistan in 2000. On NPR's Morning Edition, the show brought on former Secret Service agent Robert McDonald, who tried to ensure the audience he was sure Air Force One still had Air Force protection in the air. So I think the premise that these two planes were left out on their own, I think it's a little bit reaching. Anchor Michael Martin resisted, saying, but you don't know that for a fact. McDonald acknowledged that, but found it hard to believe two Air Force 747s would be left to fend for themselves. Journalists went on for days about the decoy outrage, but it's hard to argue Trump left them in danger since top aides, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Domestic Policy Advisor Stephen Miller, among others, were still on the plane. Everyone in the media knows that covering a president carries risk of being in the crossfire if someone makes an assassination attempt. They just witnessed it first attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this spring. What's astonishing is how little they seem to care about Trump's vulnerability to assassination, even after he was shot in the ear in one of these several foiled attempts to murder him. On August 4th, a 38-year-old California man named Janine John Tal was arrested at the Trump National Golf Club in Los Angeles after he was spotted taking photos and monitoring security preparations 2 days before a scheduled visit by the president. Talley had a 16-round magazine with ammunition in his pocket. The authorities recovered a loaded pistol in his car. But in the case of the switched planes, reporters sounded like they only worried about their own safety. And they act like Trump endangers himself with his rhetoric and by waging war on terrorist regimes in the Middle East. Some people thought the Secret Service tactics were grounds for levity. As the story broke, MS Now hosts Rachel Maddow and Lawrence O'Donnell had giggles over the concept of the president being moved from plane to plane on a catering cart, saying that he lost complete control of the situation. On Tuesday night, August 11th, O'Donnell proclaimed, no president has ever done more than President Trump to reveal himself to be a deeply cowardly man. Subbing on ABC's Jimmy Kimmel Live, actor Anthony Anderson said, let's give it up to the Secret Service. Do you know how hard it is to sneak a pig out of Turkey? I'm no security expert, but it was trying to find Donald Trump. A catering truck is the first place I'd look. Next time, hide his blank in a bookmobile. I was a White House reporter for 2 years, says Tim Graham, so I can sympathize with journalists feeling strongly about the concept of being endangered overseas. But they all should understand the Secret Service has a job to do, and it's to keep the president safe. Everyone on the plane was safe. So why did you have to treat this as a scandal? Because manufacturing daily outrages seems to be their job in covering President Trump. I thought that was a very good point. We got a couple other things here about bias in the media. Then we're going to move along to the rise of the Democrat socialists and what that looks like moving forward. A couple of New York State issues. I know Blakeman, I believe, Trump was in town to support Blakeman, I believe, Friday. I'm sure you saw some of that. I've seen some of the pictures. We're going to talk about some New York State issues. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with Nick Pelham about the Steuben County Fair, which kicks off today with the harness races and then continues all week. So we'll learn all about that in the 7 o'clock hour. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
And that's why we aren't going to settle for anything.
Oh, man. Where is he?
Our client deserves big money. Oh, you can try to downplay it or shift the blame, but to not offer top dollar is just nuts. Pardon the pun.
Looks like another working vacation.
Oh, good morning, Peter.
Hey.
Hurt in a car? Only call William Mattar, 444-4444.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
Tide isn't just a gentle ebb and flow. It's a mighty force of change. Just like the tide shapes our shorelines, we can shape our planet's future and protect the world's oceans from its biggest threats. Help us turn the tide. Join Oceania's wave of ocean advocates who are making a difference in the world.
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Former ABC News correspondent Terry Moran admitted Friday that his longtime network, ABC, was liberal and struggled to understand President Trump and his supporters because its newsroom lacked political viewpoint diversity. Co-host of the Fifth Column podcast, Michael Moynihan, asked Moran directly, is ABC News a liberal institution? He said, yes, but I think, like a lot of mainstream media, it's because of lack of viewpoint diversity. That was one of the problems in covering Trump. Nobody had voted for him. I sent out these, hey, we should be fair to Trump internal emails. I heard from people, engineers, maybe the occasional producer who said thank you. It's just sad, honestly. It's sad for him, a longtime colleague, friend, a good man, person, family man. It's just unfortunate, but there was no alternative, especially in these times. That's what an ABC News staffer told Fox Digital after Moran's departure. ABC declined to renew Moran's expiring contract after he published a since-deleted post describing Trump and White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller as world-class haters. The network said the post violated its policies and reaffirmed its commitment to impartial reporting. The ABC staffer told Fox News Digital that the network acted swiftly because allowing the controversy to linger could have driven away viewers amid widespread distrust of legacy media. Moran made a similar acknowledgement shortly after leaving ABC, saying that the scarcity of Trump supporters inside the network prevented its news division from hearing large parts of the country. During Friday's interview, Moran drew a distinction between fairness and objectivity while discussing how journalists should cover Trump's attempt to change long-standing political norms, saying, "There is no such thing as objectivity in journalism. I'd put the work I did at ABC News out there as excruciatingly fair." Media Research Center David Bozell told Fox News Digital that Moran spent years criticizing Trump and rejected Moran being an innocent observer of the bias. Terry Moran spent years proving ABC News is a liberal institution, including smearing Trump as a furor. Now he admits the newsroom has zero pro-MAGA journalists and lives in a media bubble. Spare us the newfound candor. Moran was not an innocent observer of the bias, he now acknowledges. He's one of the most enthusiastic practitioners. All right, there you go. Hey, Stephen A. Smith said that Republican Representative Byron Donalds, Republican from Florida, could make him a Republican, praising the Trump-backed gubernatorial frontrunner days before Florida Republicans choose their nominees to succeed Ron DeSantis. And I ain't no, we'll say, darn Republican. But that means if anybody could make me one, it would be him. I'm just going to keep it there. I'm just going to let you know, Smith said. He's the real deal. Make no mistake about it. I've seen him battling with Democrats. I've seen him battling with the people on different shows. Whatever. He ain't backing up. He knows his stuff, okay? I talk to him all the time. And I ain't got nothing bad to say about him. Interesting. So he's up for re-election, or up for a gubernatorial campaign. He is building a broad coalition that puts common sense over crazy to lead Florida into the future. One GOP source's assessment provided to Fox News Digital focused on President Donald Trump's endorsement. Donald is endorsed by the president, and we fully expect him to win the primary. A James Madison Institute poll released August 6th placed Donalds at 49% among likely Republican primary voters, 31 points ahead of Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins. Donald's campaign has raised more than $90 million while facing Collins, former Florida House Speaker Paul Renner, and investor James Fishback, as DeSantis withheld an endorsement of any candidate. You get the idea. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America. We've got a lot there. We've got quite a few things here about New York as well. As I mentioned in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to be talking with Nick Pelham about the Steuben County Fair, which starts today, kicks off today. So we'll be talking about that. But boy, there is a lot about the DSA. Hakeem Jeffries kind of echoing that whole big tent idea. But he was not strong, was not full-throated in support of the DSA. So progressives, the DSA, have turned on him. Hakeem Jeffries has got kind of trouble on his hands. I don't know if they do win in November. I don't know if he becomes a speaker like he wants to be. I would question it. There seems to be too much opposition because they believe, much like Chuck Schumer, they believe they're not doing enough against President Trump. I know that's kind of shocking. But that is their thought. So he kind of gave a mealy-mouthed answer on Medicare for All and the Democrat Socialists of America. And the backlash was swift. This man is so out of touch with his party. How is he their leader, said Mehdi Hassan, founder of the progressive outlet Zitio. Jeffries was confronted on the multi-million-dollar Medicare for All proposal while appearing on Meet the Press. He said, I haven't co-sponsored the Medicare for All legislation that's been introduced over the last several years. I do think we need to figure out how to fix our broken healthcare system and then build something better once we repair the damage that has been done. Medicare for All would cost between $2.5 trillion and $3.5 trillion a year on average over a decade. Most plans call for no co-payments and no deductibles. Other iterations have tacked on free dental, vision, and long-term care, which would be far more comprehensive than standard Medicare and likely cost a lot more than typical estimates. During Sunday's interview, Jeffries also was coy over whether the DSA belongs in the Democratic Party, saying, "I don't support the DSA agenda as has been articulated by the DSA itself. It's going to be a broad caucus. There will be progressives. There will be new Democrats. There will be blue dogs. What I'm excited about are the candidates who are running to flip seats in November." The top House Democrat ticked through some of the DSA's top wish list items and explained his opposition to some of the views that he sees as politically toxic, saying, "What I can say is I do not support defunding the police. I do not support open borders. I do not support abolishing the Senate. We're focused on actually solving the problems hardworking American taxpayers want us to solve, which is to lower the high cost of living." Jeffries also said he wants to dramatically reform immigration and customs enforcement when asked if he backs calls to abolish the agency. Wow. Lefty journalist Hassan claimed in his criticism of Jeffrey a reminder that the vast majority of Democrats across the country support Medicare for all. Breaking Point's co-host, Crystal Ball, sniped, "He's got a concept of a plan." Secular Talk host Kyle Kulinski, who is married to Ball, raged of Jeffries, "He needs to step down. Between this and his Israel position, he's actively hurting our chances of defeating MAGA fascism. This is completely unacceptable." Bad Faith host Brianna Joy Gray swiped, "So many DSAers work so hard to get candidates like AOC and Zoran elected, all for them to pledge loyalty to Zionist, anti-single-payer corporatists like Jeffries." So he is being turned on by the left. So Kristen Welker specifically asking Hakeem Jeffries, do Democratic Socialists belong in the Democrat Party? He says, "Well, what I can say is that I do not support defunding the police. I do not support open borders. I do not support abolishing the Senate. We're focused on actually solving problems that hardworking American taxpayers want us to solve, which is to lower the high cost of living in a situation where life is far too expensive in this country. That's the Democratic agenda. That's what House Democrats are fighting to achieve." Welker, not dropping it, saying, "Do you think, though, that there's room in the Democrat Party, under the tent of the Democrat Party, for Democratic Socialists? Is it big enough?" Jeffrey said, "Well, listen, I don't support the DSA agenda as been articulated by the DSA itself. Now you're going to have individual members who have been elected in Democratic primaries. If they are elected in general in November, will be part of the House Democratic caucus. It's going to be a broad caucus." There you go. All right, we got to take a short break. Your thoughts? Always a Big Ten. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Live a carefree, engaging lifestyle at Apple Ridge Senior Living, where exceptional is the standard. It's time to redefine your future. Pursue your passions and make meaningful connections. Enjoy an inclusive and customizable senior living experience. Everything you could want, more than you expect. Visit appleridgeseniorliving.com and schedule your tour today.
Hi, I'm attorney Anna Zarpels from WDC Injury Law. I'm not particularly athletic, but I am a big fan of sports and I'm hyper-competitive. I want to win at everything I do, and that includes getting my clients the best personal injury settlement possible. I'm a much better injury attorney than I am a hockey player, and there's no fee unless we win your case. Call 607-500-HURT for a free consultation.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout the next few days.
Dante.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Good morning, Mark. Wait a minute. The Dems told people to go after Trump, so he gets on a different plane, probably fearful of previous assassination attempts. And the Dems are blaming for leaving the nasty left reporters on the other plane? Give me a break. Thank you, Mark. Jack writes in and says good morning as well. Good morning, Jack. Jack's thoughts on the change in pocket change. Why not do away with metal coins altogether and simply round cash transactions to the nearest dollar, or maybe keep the quarter? Let's face it, cash itself is slowly becoming a thing of the past anyway. Heck, if the Socialist Democrats take over, maybe everything will be free anyway, right? But there's one kind of change we shouldn't take for granted: freedom. Freedom has never been free. If we aren't careful about the choices we make at the ballot box, freedom could eventually go the way of pocket change, something we once took for granted until one day it was gone. Thank you, Jack. Ken writes in, can you imagine the ridicule the left would rain down on Trump or any Republican if they did a Blue's Clues style video like Abdul Assad did? Yeah, I know that was so, I know cringe is used way too much, but it was very cringeworthy. Yes, I saw that over the weekend making the rounds, his Blue's Clues. That's al-Assad, who campaigned with Hassan Piker, now wants to distance themselves. But Democrats now overwhelmingly have a more favorable view of socialism than capitalism, according to a shocking new poll. Nearly 60% of party members support socialism compared to 18% who view it negatively, while just 32% have a favorable view of capitalism compared to 50% who see it as negative. So only 32% of Democrats have a favorable opinion of capitalism, while 50% see it as negative, according to the CBS News YouGov survey. The poor marks for capitalism among Democrats gets even worse when narrowed down to those who have a college degree, with 71% of that group favoring socialism compared to 16% viewing it unfavorably. The disturbing findings come as Democrats are engaged in a so-called battle for the soul of their party. Democrat Socialists of America backed and allied candidates have had a series of breakthrough victories in Democratic primaries across the country throughout the 2026 election cycle. Most of those wins have occurred in blue strongholds, but top DSA figures have made it clear they want to take over the Democrat Party and shift it dramatically leftward. Still, the poll found that the general public is still not fully convinced that socialism is superior to capitalism. Among the general public, capitalism is viewed as 46% positive to 35% negative, while socialism is considered 35% positive and 42% negative. When asked to describe the free market, an overwhelming 66% of respondents said it was good for the U.S. economy, compared to 34% who called it bad. Yet on a policy level, there are signs that even Republicans are supportive of certain policies historically associated with socialism, such as price controls. Economists generally oppose price controls, arguing they can disrupt supply and demand, which can lead to consequences such as shortages of certain goods or services. But in the poll, the notion won the approval of 75% of Democrats, 62% of independents, and 54% of Republicans. Given the rise of the far left in the country's recent primary races, President Trump has worked to paint leftists as full-blown communists and urge Republicans to spotlight their hardcore progressive policies heading into the midterm elections. Our American identity is under a renewed attack, said the president. A generation after we fought and won the Cold War against the menace of communism, there is now a resurgence of the communist menace in our land, including from newcomers to our country who embrace ideas totally opposed to our way of life and our great success. So Democrats now favor socialism over capitalists by an overwhelming amount. Now, the Financial Times asks, are Americans making peace with the specter of socialism? Democrat socialist candidates are winning primary battles as voters turn to progressive politics. We're going to talk about that. I realize I'm running just a little bit late. Coming up in the next hour, Nick Pelham is going to be our guest. We're going to be talking about the Steuben County Fair, which kicks off today. It's absolutely free today. We'll hear all about that when we are joined by Nick Pelham. A big horse racing day, big harness day, racing day. So you won't want to miss that. We'll hear all about it coming up in just a little bit, but the corning whistle should ring any second now. So let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. Stay with us.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
This is the sofa America's waited 250 years for. Bob's Playday Sectional, made from 100% American ambition. It's not content being just a sofa. Pop-up sleeper, ample storage, USB ports, bookshelf, even a drop-down table with cup holders.
Because nothing's more American than a sofa with more horsepower than a pickup truck.
Oh, my Bob! Bob's Discount Furniture.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So the question by the Financial Times, are Americans making peace with the specter of socialism? Well, the polling shows the Democrats are. But if you thought American socialists or socialism was all Marxist reading groups and picket lines, think again. These days, it's just as likely to be softball leagues, crafting clubs, and cocktails with comrades. These are the Democrat Socialists of America, the offering curious Gen Zers looking for a new political home, and it seems to be working. Once the fringiest of marginal groups, the DSA now has close to 130,000 members, up from 5,000 15 years ago. And its members are winning Democrat primaries across the country. Megan Romer, national co-chair, said its growth reflected a deep frustration with a system that she said was failing young people. People are like, well, okay, capitalism's not working, she said in an interview, so what else is there? With apologies to Marx's The Communist Manifesto, a specter is haunting America, the specter of socialism. Its platform, affordable housing, universal health care, free college for all, and higher taxes on billionaires, is increasingly popular with younger voters sick of the traditional remedies for America's ills. I would also add that you should put the anti-Semitism in there. But 66% of Democrats viewed socialism positively, up from 50% in 2010. Meanwhile, a survey by the economist YouGov in June found that 62% of Democrats would vote for a candidate who identified as a Democrat socialist. It is a surprising turnaround for an ideology that used to be a dirty word in the U.S. For many, socialism seemed like an affront to the rugged individualism and muscular self-reliance that defined the American ideal. But this surgence is real. Zohran Mamdani's victory in New York's mayoral election last year was the breakthrough. I still think that is overhyped. I mean, I know he's mayor, don't get me wrong, but you had to get people to vote for Andrew Cuomo. You couldn't get Republicans to do that. You couldn't get Democrats to do that. But I think it was a perfect storm. But earlier this month, the progressive Abdul al-Sahad, whose policy ideas overlap with the DSA's agenda, sent shockwaves to the Democratic establishment by winning the Michigan Democratic State Senate primary. But again, not by as much as they thought he was going to win by. It's not a clean sweep that some had been predicting, however. This week, DSA member Francisca Hong lost her bid to become Democratic candidate for governor of Wisconsin to a moderate rival. Hong's campaign had hit turbulence after an old tweet emerged in which she advocated canceling Thanksgiving. Such woke excesses has allowed Republicans to paint the DSA as dangerous radicals. They have ample ammunition. The group's platform calls for abolishing the police and prisons, removing the presidency and Senate, and overturning America's capitalist free market system. Speaking in Las Vegas earlier this month, President Trump said the Democrat Party was now full of communists who want to take their ruinous and deadly ideology of misery and squalor to every state in America. But ironically, some Republicans, too, are beginning to espouse views that would not seem out of place in a DSA manifesto. Trump, for example, has said his administration was considering taking equity stakes in leading AI companies. He has also moved to ban large institutional investors from buying single-family homes, part of his response to the affordability crisis. Vice President J.D. Vance, who describes himself as pro-labor, has gone further, saying the U.S. should strengthen trade unions. You have to give workers some seat at the bargaining table, he told Joe Rogan. Our workers don't have enough bargaining power. Anyway, I like how they're trying to suggest Republicans are going DSA. Okay. Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat, said the Democrat socialists are bomb throwers, not problem solvers. They've declared war on common sense Democrats, which will only lead to more deadlock, dysfunction, and hardworking families paying the price. Experts agree that such candidates hold little appeal for the middle-of-the-road voters in swing states who increasingly determine the outcome of national elections in the U.S. Some of the more far-out called Democratic Socialists were elected in some extremely liberal districts in New York, but people with college degrees, not by working-class people, said a professor of political science at Harvard. Anyway, you get the idea. I don't like this. Yeah, when you look at that poll, how am I doing on time? Well, we'll tell you what Senator Fetterman had to say about that poll. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the rise of Democrat Socialists of America. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox getting ready to wrap up. Hour number 1. Get your comments in.
Give kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout the next few days.
It's layaway or swimming pool time at Hesselson's for next year. With Hesselson's Easy Layaway Plan, only $500 down guarantees you this year's price and gets you on an early installation date for next year. But hurry in, as next year's list will fill fast. Same great pricing, same great service, same great installation. Come in early so you can enjoy your new swimming pool all summer long. Hesselson's, your locally owned and operated swimming pool store since 1955, will always be there for you today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. A couple comments here. It's obvious, but the present state of the high cost of living is and has been prolonged by Democrats as they fight against every single thing the president has tried to do. So for Hakeem Jeffries to say that Democrats are trying to do something about the cost of living is absurd. I have a hard time accepting that we are even giving an anti-capitalist form of government at the time of day. I would agree. Also, if you recall Friday's program, Lynn said he was going on a fishing trip, and guess what? He had himself a little luck. 34 inches, approximately 22 pounds. Look at that good-looking fish. Congratulations, Lynn. Thanks for sending that in. We always appreciate that. Looks like you had a fun time. Okay, so Senator John Fetterman responded to that recent poll that we had just mentioned that found that more than half of Democrats have a positive view of socialism. In a post on X, Fetterman warned that the Democrat Party is becoming the party of socialism. adding that 58% view socialism positively, while 50% have a negative view of capitalism. I'm a proud free market capitalist. This is lunacy, he said. Senator Mike Lee responded to Fetterman's post and called for him to join the Republican Party. John, please join us. We're not socialists and we don't bite. In an interview with Fox News Digital, Fetterman expressed that the direction in which the Democrat Party is going is troubling. He added that he would never try to elevate a communist. I would never try to elevate a communist just because Piker had followers on Twitch, whatever that is. But overall, if you identify with a communist who praises Mao and Cuba, and for those places, that should be foreign to any Democrat. Now, angry at the Supreme Court, liberals are now pushing a slew of plans to overhaul it. Democrats' anger is fueled by a conviction that many of these rulings are more about politics than the law. There's constant and building dismay above the increasingly appalling record of this court, said Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. And I think the continuing interest in reform springs from continued dismay and concern about the court's misbehavior. Okay, so even though we've talked about this, that they didn't all go in Trump's direction, very few of them actually did, but that's still not enough. The left wants complete adherence. They want a full control of the Supreme Court. So expect a change, or the attempt anyway, of a change if they win in November. Chief Justice John Roberts and his colleagues have repeatedly said they issue rulings based on the law, not their political biases. But critics argue that the growing perception, among liberals at least, that the court is politically driven risks hurting its credibility in a way that could be damaging for the long term. The court only works as an institution if it is capable of deciding the hard cases in ways that seem credible to the country. And if you have half the country that sees the court as a partisan institution and the court behaves in a way that seems largely consistent with that, half the country just can be like, forget these guys. Okay. All right, that does it for our number one. See some comments come in. We'll get to those. We've got a few more things here about the rise of the Democrat Socialist of America. We do have some New York State updates, and as I mentioned, in the next hour, we're going to talk with Nick Pelham about the Steuben County Fair, which kicks off today with the harness races. And then the fair actually begins tomorrow. So we're going to learn all about that with Nick Pelham in the 7 o'clock hour. So don't miss that. That'll be right around 7:20. On tomorrow's program, we're going to talk with Robert Barnum. He's got a new book out called Wrestling with the Cold War. It's about actual wrestling during the Cold War and how it kind of served kind of the wartime of the Cold War and made, certain guys bad guys, certain guys good guys. We'll talk about it. We'll know more about it tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, Mary Caruso from the Corning Community Food Pantry will be joining us. They have a competition, or it's a vote for her that you can vote. As a matter of fact, I think I have it here. I could show it to you right now. If you vote for her right there, you can vote once a day, and they're up for the NASCAR Foundation grant award. So you can vote once a day until September 6th. We're going to learn all about that on Wednesday's broadcast. And don't forget, Thursday, speaking of the Steuben County Fair, I'm going to be at the Steuben County Fair this Thursday from 12 to 2, so stop by and say hi. All right, that does it for hour number one. Hour number two coming up after this. Stay with us.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Come celebrate the 207th Steuben County Fair from Monday, August 17th through Sunday, August 23rd. Wednesday, August 19th is Broken Bee Rodeo starting at 7 p.m. And there's more. Demolition derbies, monster truck show, games, rides, fun for the whole family. For tickets and information, visit SteubenCountyFair.org. Experience the Steuben County Fair from August 17th through the 23rd.
It's Toy National Sales Event with so much summer left to see. From the perfect seats in a RAV4, to reimagining spaces in a Corolla Cross, to rooms with a view in a Tundra. Don't you love when summer just clicks?
Right now, you can lease a versatile all-wheel drive 2026 RAV4 with 0 down and first month's payment of $389 due at signing.
Toyota keeps your summer going.
Toyota, let's go places.
Haley Livingston, Big
And we welcome you to hour number 2, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're talking about the rise of the Democrat Socialists of America. Mark writes in and says, if a socialist president gets in office like AOC, say goodbye to freedom. And in socialist countries, they can't own guns. Say goodbye to them, too. Thank you, Mark. On CBS's Face the Nation, Pennsylvania State Representative Chris Robb said the United States is not a purely capitalistic society. I listened to that segment, and it seems like we have a lot in common. We're against corruption. We want to fight for working people. We believe that healthcare is a human right. These are things that we want: increased wages. I support a living wage for all. So I think there are a lot more in common than people would think. So Ed O'Keefe said, but when he says that socialism is a failed experiment, what's your response to that? Rob said, well, I imagine he supports Social Security. In a purely capitalistic free market system, we would have no Social Security. We would have no Medicare. We would have no Medicaid. We could have no public education. We would have no public education. We should have no interstate highway system. We would have no firefighters. These things are things that are brought to us by different views that have molded us into the nation we are today. It's not one thing. This is not a purely capitalistic society. This is capitalism in China and Finland, everywhere. Like, this is something that we have to understand is a mixture, and it is an evolution, effectively work. What are we doing to make sure that we are moving in the right direction? That we are transforming this nation so that it can take care of everyone. How is it that we have our first trillionaire and we still have veterans who are unhoused? Now, former Bernie Sanders operative is warning that the radical left has overtaken the Democrat Party from within. And we talked about this on the past. Melissa Del Rosa, Cuomo's former chief of staff, I think that was her official title, saying that it's a parasite, essentially, right? That the DSA could never win on their own. So they're kind of hijacked, if you will, the Democrat Party. Well, former Bernie Sanders operative is sounding the alarm over what the Democrat Party has become, warning the far left has overtaken the party from within, saying, quote, part of the reason it has been overtaken is because the establishment tried really hard in 2020 to block us. And in 2019, after AOC won, they did a blacklist, and that actually backfired on them. And it's made the far left grow even stronger, said Evan Barker. Barker, who raised money for Democratic candidates throughout her career before deciding to vote for Trump in 2024, argued that the Democrat establishment's efforts to contain its insurgent flank ultimately backfired, pushing activists to build their own political infrastructure, from training one another to recruiting donors, including billionaires. The result, Barker argued, is a party increasingly influenced from the inside by its activist base, donors and staffers, some of whom she says are considerably further left than the politicians they work for. I think they've kind of been captured from all sides. They have these hyper left-leaning donors coupled with the staff that's been radicalized and the base. I've seen him kind of being dragged further and further to the left, meaning Bernie Sanders, by what he views as his message bearers, people like AOC and Ilhan Omar and now Abdul al-Sahad. Barker's warning comes as a new crop of progressive candidates and Democrat socialists tests its strength ahead of the midterm election. She's got a point. I mean, when they basically rigged the system so that Bernie couldn't win, it created a kind of this groundswell of socialists. If you look at them and you compare him to the modern movement of the party today, meaning Barack Obama, it is just night and day. They have gone left on so many critical issues like immigration and identity politics and defund the police and just all these things that I did not sign up for. She added that former President Joe Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 presidential race and then Vice President Kamala Harris's subsequent nomination made her recognize in real time the manifestation of everything the Democrats had become. Now, Hallie Stevens is urging Abdul al-Assad to get rid of Hassan Piker after the primary. Stevens maintained her primary season criticism of Piker even while backing al-Assad. It certainly makes sense to get rid of this Hassan Piker affiliation, she said. Also asserting that the Democrat plans for healthcare, democracy, and black-owned businesses are better than those of Republican Mike Rogers, who will oppose al-Assad in the Senate race. Asked whether al-Assad had said or done anything other than winning the Democratic nomination to earn the support and ease the concerns of groups that voted for Stevens, such as Jewish voters, black voters, or Reagan-era Democrats, Stevens pointed to her own good performance with those demographics, identifying herself as a Zionist Democrat and asserting that her party had room for all those communities. I came really close to winning the primary, and I'm still a Democrat. I'm still out there talking about my views and values. I want the people who share my views and values to feel safe and to feel heard in the Democrat Party. The face-off to succeed, retiring Democrat Senator Gary Peters, who backed Stevens, is a must-win contest for Democrats and one of roughly a dozen general election Senate races expected to determine whether Republicans remain in the majority. A new Fox News poll indicates that the progressive al-Assad trails Republican candidate Mike Rogers by 4 points in the general election, and that he is underperforming with black voters, women, and suburban voters compared with former Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. Rogers and al-Assad are set to face off in the swing state's Senate election on November the 3rd. Now, Super Squad, radical House group, the Squad as we know it, could double in size and influence come November. The House of Representatives Socialist Squad could soon start looking more like a platoon. With a wave of far-left candidates winning recent Democrat primaries across the country, the radical group is certain to expand and wield far greater influence after the November elections. The Squad will likely go from 7 current members to 14. 2 virtually guaranteed additions after the midterm are like Squad founder AOC from the Big Apple. Claire Valdez, who vowed to implement nationwide rent control if elected to Congress, easily won the primary in June for New York's 7th House District, and the general election is considered a formality in the Blue District that includes Bushwick and other parts of Brooklyn, being labeled the Commie Corridor. We talked about the Commie Corridor with Joseph Polinsky last week. Daraliza Kavalar is a radical who attended an anti-Israel rally the day after the October 7th attacks by Hamas. She has said the U.S. committed worse atrocities than Hamas and echoed Kremlin talking points that blamed the U.S. for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. She won her primary in June and is considered a shoo-in to win New York's 10th congressional district, which represents Harlem. Elsewhere across the country, other prospective Squad members include Melik Kiros, a 29-year-old Gen Z socialist who knocked off a 15-term establishment Democrat in Colorado. Adam Hamway, an AOC-endorsed Princeton plastic surgeon who won his primary in an overwhelmingly Democratic New Jersey district. Frederick Haynes, a 65-year-old pastor from Texas who easily won his March primary. He has positioned himself to the left of Representative Jasmine Crockett and also was endorsed by the Justice Democrats. Chris Rabb, a 56-year-old self-described Democrat socialist who trounced establishment-backed rivals in the nation's bluest congressional district. William Lawrence, a 36-year-old Michigan activist who co-founded the Radical Sunrise Movement and once gushed over Hassan Piker, telling the controversial streamer, "You're the man." He clinched the primary, though unlike the others, his chance of winning his swing district is a toss-up. Traders on Polymarket put the odds of Democrats regaining control of the House at 88%. That means a super squad could have huge influence to pass or tank legislation like a bill to abolish ICE or articles of impeachment against President Trump like the original squad did back in 2019. They will not compromise, said one former House leadership aide. It's become a bigger part of the party, said GOP consultant Doug Hay. The squad moniker First emerged after the midterms 8 years ago. We don't need to know about the history of the squad. After the group famously got into a spat with Nancy Pelosi over Omar comparing the United States and Israel to the Taliban, President Trump regularly harnessed the nickname in his frequent rants against the gang. The squad is a very racist group of troublemakers who are young, inexperienced, and not very smart. They are pulling the once great Democrat Party far left, he wrote in a tweet back in June. And I don't like this comparison, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I see a lot of comments coming in. We'll get to those in just a little bit. I don't like this comparison, though. I've seen a lot making it. The New York Times said Democrats face a potential Tea Party moment. A string of primary wins by progressive candidates has revealed the strength of the high-energy insurgent movement, but also its possible limitations. The results marked a new level of political strength for candidates affiliated with the resurgent activist left, showing that their movement can be competitive in statewide primaries well beyond deep blue House districts. Yet, while a vocal group of strategists, activists, and college-educated voters have raced to embrace these boldly liberal and in some cases untested candidates, some of the voters who have historically been most crucial to the party's fortunes remain skeptical. In Michigan and Wisconsin, both pivotal battleground states, the progressive candidates appeared to have struggled to sway voters who have long been the backbone of the party, including black, more moderate, and older Americans who vote reliably. As left-wing candidates have notched victories in primary after primary, many progressives hope they will be able to move the Democrat Party further to the left, mirroring in some ways how the rise of the Tea Party movement nearly 2 decades ago pushed the Republican Party further to the right. I don't know if I agree with but anyway. But the results raise questions about whether these candidates could piece together a broad enough coalition of Democrats, independents, and moderates to win general elections in swing states that could determine whether Democrats are able to regain power in Congress and eventually the White House. Would I put a DSA member up for governor in New York or Massachusetts? Said Chris Walton, the former chair of the Democrat Party of Milwaukee County. Sure, we could take a chance, but it makes it harder in a state like Wisconsin, where you're starting out at the 48-yard line and have to figure out how to get to 50. The next major test for the left will come this fall in a smattering of battleground House districts, and as Dr. Al-Assad and Troy Jackson, a progressive former state senator in Maine, fight to win seats that Democrats need to capture to control the Senate. The primary results indicate that to win, some of those nominees must not only persuade independent voters, but also shore up their own base. In Michigan, Dr. Al-Assad trailed in majority black townships across the state. While he was popular with younger voters, there were signs that he was weaker than his Democrat primary opponent, Representative Hallie Stevens, among older voters who vote more reliably. The big difference was the Tea Party was in support of America, in support of capitalism, not trying to tear down the country. So I don't really like that comparison, but I do think the Democrats have had kind of, it's kind of like Republicans. So Republicans were constantly told, the only way we can win is with John McCain. The only way we can win is with Mitt Romney. And then when they finally said, the only way we can beat Hillary is with Jeb Bush, people said, enough. We're just going to vote for someone who's a little bit different. Because why not? We lose all the time, and of course then Trump wins. I think the Democrats are going a little bit through this because their party said, you have to pick Hillary. Can't be Bernie. The fix is in. And then the same thing again. Now it's got to be Biden. So Biden wins. And then, now it's got to be Harris. I think they're just frustrated. I think that's what we're seeing. I know. I realize I got to take a short break. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to talk a little bit more about this. I see some comments coming in, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent,
because child care for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent because housing was absent.
Aisha S.
Olivia H.
Darren L.
Cole W.
Preston L.
Absent.
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 Because healthcare.
Anti-bullying.
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout the next.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer: whatever became of the alleged, the Chinese spy that Cuomo hired and that Hochul employed? I have not heard much more on that. I know there was a lawsuit, but I can't remember, or the court, I should say. I can't remember what finally became of her. I know that there was more information that came out, but yeah, I'm not sure. Comment from Ken: I don't think it's surprising that a vast amount of propagandized Gen Zs and low information sheeple think socialism would be a good thing. They are constantly bombarded with how wonderful the benefits they would receive are and how the vast amount of other countries' people benefit from it. They don't tell them that the downsides are, like waiting months for a medical procedure, a vast reduction in choices at grocery and all other stores, and the huge increase of government control over their lives. If they were critical thinkers, they could do the simple math, putting two and two together and understanding why people from socialistic and authoritarian societies risk their lives and the lives of their children to become American. Thank you, Ken. That's a great point. Now, AOC, according to Henry Olson, Henry says AOC may never get a better shot at being president than this. Progressive Democrats' impressive string of primary victories has increased talk that the left's most prominent figure, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, should run for president in 2028. That would amount to a major gamble with her bright political future. But if she really wants to be president, she should do it anyway. Becoming president is something like 2 parts skill and 1 part luck. Successful candidates usually have the charisma to excite a crowd and the message to compel support. Those are the skill parts. But they also need to have the great good fortune to meet their lucky moment. A candidate can arrive too far ahead of public opinion. Think Barry Goldwater in 1964 or George McGovern in 1972, which could be the risk that gives AOC the most pause. But there's also the risk of being too late. Senator Walter Mondale chose not to enter the 1976 race, saying, I don't want to spend the next 2 years in holiday inns. And Georgia Governor Jimmy Carter came from out of nowhere to win the presidency. But the time Mondale finally got his shot, a Ronald Reagan landslide was waiting to bury him. New York Governor Mario Cuomo earned the nickname Hamlet on the Hudson as he agonized over whether to enter the 1992 race. Cuomo decided against challenging President George H.W. Bush, only to watch from the sidelines as Bill Clinton seized the opportunity. Many GOP leaders wanted New Jersey Governor Chris Christie to run in 2012. Really? Christie decided against, clearly thinking he could still run in 2016. He tried, but got pummeled by the 1-2 punch of a George Washington Bridge lane closure and mesmerizing real estate mogul named Donald Trump. That's the question AOC faces. Will she ever have the opportunity that appears to lie before her? Primary results this cycle have revealed a massive desire for unabashed champions of the progressive left among Democrat voters. Far-left House candidates have won in fair and safely blue districts in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and elsewhere. This month, swing states joined the party. Abdul al-Saad's victory last week in Michigan and Francisca Hong's razor-thin loss in Wisconsin show that progressives can go toe-to-toe with the establishment in key presidential territory, too. It simply defies belief that those voters would not prefer a similar candidate in the presidential race. But could it be someone else? Senator Bernie Sanders has mounted 2 strong presidential bids, but he would be 87 on Inauguration Day. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who would be 79, is also clearly too old for voters scared by Joe Biden's 2024 campaign. Take those 2 off the table, and AOC is easily the less best known and most popular national figure. If those 2 are too old, maybe AOC is too young. On Inauguration Day 2019, she would be 39, which is 4 years younger than the youngest ever elected president, John F. Kennedy. Won't she still have plenty of time or opportunity to run? The problem is that if the lane is there, and I'm convinced it is, someone is going to take it. Maybe it will be Representative Ro Khanna, who makes no secret of his interest in running. Maybe it will be a surprise a la Carter or Clinton. Surely one of the likely frontrunners will try, but former Vice President Kamala Harris has wobbled between progressivism and centrism during her time in the national eye. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is clearly a man of the center-left. California Governor Gavin Newsom is better known for triangulation than for standing on principle. One or more could tack leftward, but none of them can compete with AOC's authentic devotion to her causes. 2 caveats. First, winning the Democratic nomination would be the easy part. The general election would be a different story. The Democratic nominee would win in 2028 no matter who they are, especially if President Trump is as unpopular than he is now. But suffice it to say, it's a good bet that the Republican Party would consider an AOC candidacy a dream come true. And second, AOC, of course, shouldn't run if she is ambivalent about being president. The American presidency requires someone with all-consuming ambition. Ambivalence will always come out in the campaign cycle. If she thinks the chalice is poison, best not to sip from it. But if she harbors that dream, she should seize a moment that may never come again and jump in. Doubts can fade as the heat of combat intensifies. The enthusiasm she would immediately engender would help dispel any fear she might have. She would find, as so many others have, that to dare is to do. A powerful wind has risen. Will AOC be the one to let it fill her sails? Interesting. All right, we got to take a short break because we got a few more things on this because Democrats kind of reshaped the primary calendar. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But coming up, we want to hear all about the Steuben County Fair, which kicks off today. It's a little rainy, but I will be there Thursday from noon to 2, so stop by and say hi. I'll be in the Republican booth. Looking forward to that. But we're going to find out all about the Steuben County Fair when we return. Stay with us. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Google reviews rank Ferrario Ram the highest customer experience Ram dealer in our area.
Get a new 1500 Ram Ferrario priced at 18% off. Express, Warlock, or Bighorn. Ferrario priced at 18% off. With America's best full-size truck powertrain limited warranty, 10-year, 100,000 miles. 2026 Ram 1500, 18% off. Take your pick.
Make this the summer event.
Visit Ferrario Ram in Elmira for your Ram 1500.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world. We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to. Yeah. Right, Rod? Exactly. We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout the next few days.
Dante.
The Frankly Speaking Root Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We're broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, it's hard to believe it's that time of summer already. Kind of a downer.
It is, yeah.
That means it's almost over. But it's not a downer because it's a lot of fun. The Steuben County Fair, how's the planning going?
It's going fantastic. Things are looking great. We've made a lot of improvements to the grounds and stuff. We're really looking forward to the 207th continuous Steuben County Fair.
Isn't that crazy? 207th. And we're going to talk about all the events that are going on. But I think there's something special about it this year because we've all been celebrating America 250. And you think about America 250, and you guys have been around 207 of those years. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can still remember the first one, and it's been a great run. So, yeah, we're almost as old as the country.
Yeah, that is amazing. So, how long have you been doing this, being the manager?
I've been the manager now for 13 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you find the planning is easier, or about the same every year?
About the same every year, yeah. I mean, I've already got plans underway for next year. Once we get to this point, we're just kind of going through the motions and keep an eye on popularity of events and ground acts and things like that. But yeah, the wheels are already spinning for next year.
Well, and you got to figure at this point, here it is Monday, and you're going to be starting tomorrow. There's nothing you can do at this point.
Exactly. Yep.
You just gotta take the breather. But I think there's something really exciting that's happening tomorrow on Tuesday, because normally that's a slow day for the fair, right? I mean, we can admit
Correct.
that.
Yep.
And I know the harness races. I'm a big fan of harness racing. And I know that's kicking out. Tell us about this year, though. This is really special.
So actually, the harness racing is on Monday.
Oh, it's on Monday.
It's on Monday. Yeah. So it's today. Yeah.
You know what? That
horses
is right.
are rolling in as we speak.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a huge day at racing at the fairgrounds. The weather's looking great and everything. We have 125 horses coming, 25 heats of 2- and 3-year-olds, trotters and pacers. It's just going to be a phenomenal day of racing.
I'm glad you told me that. I gotta go put in my vacation sheet. That's a whole day of harness racing.
Yeah.
And when's the last time it's been that big?
It's been a number of years. Yeah. The harness race has gotten up, but the state's putting more money into it and stuff. It's got guys back out there motivated, and we're the only race this week, so they're all coming. Yep.
So that is today. The harness races. Don't miss out.
Yep.
Now, what's it cost to get in today?
Absolutely free. Yeah, everything's free grandstand. There will be some food vendors open, livestock's moving in, the competitive exhibit stuff are being judged and things like that. So it's a good time to come down and just check out the grounds and stuff and see how things come together.
So what would you say? I know every year, you're like you said, you're looking, you're adapting. What's new this year? Other than that,
the main thing that's new this year, we've been doing some small local acts in our poultry pavilion adjacent to the grandstand. And this year we have October Rose coming on Friday. She's playing from 4 to 7. She's a touring artist. She's out of New Jersey and stuff. So she just does a phenomenal job. So that'll be something fresh for the area that nobody's seen before with our local artists. So,
that's great. So I was looking at the lineup, and there's so much going on. You got the livestock show. You've got the. What would you say is the most popular event, or is it too difficult to judge?
Really, the most popular stuff are motorsports and the demolition derbies, and the truck and tractor pull on Saturday night draws in a big crowd. And the rodeo is getting better and better every year as well. So it's our grandstand shows. All of them are about on par, but really demolition derbies for our area that just packs the house.
It is. It's amazing. The numbers of people you pack in there. I would think people are out of junk cars at this point.
Oh, you would think so, but they keep finding them here and there and stuff, and it's going to be like any other motorsport. It's going to be an expensive endeavor with electronics and everything, and the price of scrap up and stuff. But the guys they keep finding them, keep bringing them in.
And correct me if I'm wrong. We're talking about the regular demolition derby. Have we started a lawnmower demolition derby too?
Yeah, that'll be Tuesday night. We actually have a lawnmower tractor pull and lawnmower demolition derby. So that's a great night. It's $2 to get on the grounds. Just $10 for the grandstand. And when we say lawnmower tractor pull, we do have stock lawnmowers, but they go right up to V8 mini rods. There's small block Chevys. The V8 class is limited to 410 cubic inches, but other than that and wheelbase, they can pretty much do whatever they want as far as fuel injection, this and that. We have hobby stocks that are V8s as well, but they're restricted to 360 cubic inches and have to run a 2-barrel carburetor, so they're a little more. But like when you get basically a lawnmower length machine with a small block Chevy or Ford on it, they really scream down the track and put on a great show. And then we do the lawnmower demo as well.
I'm sure that's got to be a fan favorite. What's a demolition derby for a lawnmower look like?
It's comical. They do have to build some protection for their ankles and things like that. Once the lawnmower starts, they have to take the battery out, and when it quits, you're done. You can't restart it. And they generally circle to the start, and then they just smash and crash
what a great
to the last
idea.
man standing. Yep.
What a great idea. So the popularity of that, and then of course we've got the rodeo, as you mentioned. these are really taking off as well.
They have, yep.
That's a fun day. I don't think people. I know it sounds cliche. If you haven't been to a rodeo, it's not my first rodeo. That old cliche line, but you really got to try one out. You're gonna have a blast.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have Broken Bee comes in and they bring some fantastic bulls. They're really the baddest bulls on the East Coast, and they put on a great show. And we do the barrel race, and there's two competitions for the females and 2 for the men. So it's a four event rodeo, and it's a great time.
And now, what's I don't want to put you on the spot, but let's go through the lineup for the grandstand. Then we'll talk about some of the normal walking around the actual fairgrounds. But what is the lineup for the grandstand?
Yep. So we have naturally the harness racing at noon on Monday. Then Tuesday starts at 7 with the lawnmower demolition derby or lawnmower tractor pull, and then about 7 o'clock we switch to the demo, and then finish up with the remaining classes of the lawnmower pull. Wednesday nights are rodeo. Thursday, we're regular scene for the demolition derby. We have a mini junk and full-size junk, which is the minivans and full-size pickups, plus qualifying heats for Sunday's final. Friday night, we have monster trucks. We have 3 great monster trucks coming again this year. They put on a great show in front of the grandstand. They also use the pit area, so we give them a little more room to romp. So they put on a really good show for a fair show. Saturday nights, the Outlaw Pulling Series comes back to town with their semi-trucks and tractor and truck classes and stuff. A very popular event. And then we finish everything up on Sunday with the finals of the Demolition Derby.
So what does cleanup look like after all this?
Actually, we're pretty efficient on cleanup. The county does help us out with their programs. They bring in people. They actually clean the grounds every morning during the week, and then they come back in and spend about 3 days picking the grounds. We pick up all the pens and stuff, and then we just it takes us about 4 days to put everything back away. So we're pretty efficient. I got some great guys that help me out with that stuff, and we've got it down to a science.
So let's talk about the actual inside the fairgrounds. We're talking grandstand right now, but inside. All right, you got to tell us the top secret here. I'm putting you on the spot. Who's the genius behind Oscar the Robot? Who is it?
Oh, I can't tell you that. That is top secret. But he's a great guy. He actually comes out of Virginia, tours the country all summer long.
Okay.
Yeah, and just does a phenomenal job. And some people think he's actually in there, and he's not. And sometimes I really have to look for him, and it's amazing how far he'll let Oscar get away from where he's standing and watching stuff. But he just does a phenomenal job with the kids and the adults as well. He's amazing.
He's fun. I try to avoid him. I never know what. But I'm always looking around. He always seems to be near, nipping at your heels. There's also, as I mentioned, American 250. We should take a second and mention the kind of the historic nature of it. I know that the historian gets involved, and there's of course a lot of historic displays on site.
Yeah. So we have our Pioneer Museum, which is full of antique like farm equipment and things like that. We have the one-room schoolhouse that was actually on Babcock Hollow Road and moved to the fairgrounds a number of years ago, and it's still set up just like it was when it was in use. And then we have the log cabin, the historical log cabin with there'll be knitters and stuff in there and spinning wheels and things like that going on. So there's a lot of history of the fair and on the fairgrounds to come and explore.
And there's also, just like any fair, but the food. There's too much to choose.
Absolutely, yeah. And when we get into August, bikini season's over, so it's good to go ahead and have the fried dough. You don't have to worry about going to the beach.
The fried everything.
Exactly.
There's so much food. Just the smell as you pull in. You could be a mile away. I think you can start to smell the food.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The fried dough, the funnel cakes, cotton candy apples, Italian sausage. All of the fair favorites are going to be there.
Yeah, I can't wait. Now, everybody knows that watches this program. I got to talk about it. But my favorite, of course. Did I ever show you this? Someone sent this to me?
No.
We talk about it so much on the program.
Eat, sleep, pig racing.
And then last year, they sent me and Joe Sempolinski and Phil Palmisano. It's a handicapping notebook. So I can pick the pigs. So I obviously talk about it too much on this program. But don't you think that all of it's fun? But that has been such a draw for the fair for so many years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the Rosaires Rural Races have been there over 20 years, and they keep coming back and draw the crowds. When that horn goes off, the grounds just sucks right over to that area.
It does.
And Pam's doing it. Her father started it. Pam Rosaire, the daughter, she's running it now, and just does a phenomenal job. And when the Orient Express comes out, that is the highlight of the show, because they go so fast around that track.
It's so fun. And I look forward to it. I get my root beer, at the place that's been there forever, the ice cold root beer. And but anymore, I went on a Saturday last year. Normally I'm during the week because I'll volunteer. I went on a Saturday. I couldn't even get near it.
No,
the root beer, or because it's right next to the pig race. That packs them in.
Oh, it does. Yep. Rosaire's Rural Racers. So race no swine before it's time.
That's exactly. I'm sure you hear that a few times during that. But yes, it is just such a great time. What do you say? I know you're busy the whole time. Is there a part that you look forward to the most?
To be honest with you, fried dough.
Oh, fried dough. Okay.
And I have to limit myself to one a night.
That's funny. But do you get a little time to enjoy it and take it?
Oh, I do. Yep. Yeah. Like I say, I've got a great crew and everything, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on things. But I mobilize when I have to. But the rest of the time, I do have time to walk around and keep an eye on things and see what's drawing the crowds and what's not, and planning for the next year and everything. And like I say, I can't thank my crew enough because they make me look like a superstar.
Yeah, it's such a fun event. I'm going to be there Thursday from 12 to 2 volunteering at the Republican booth, so everybody stop by, say hi. One thing I think that's overlooked, and I want to encourage people to go upstairs in that building. Right. Because you get to see all the amazing, some of the things that people come up with in our area, their artwork.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Not just the vegetables, of course, that's really fun, but you see quilts, you see paintings, you see pies that people make, that like right out of a picture book.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The culinary and the grown vegetables and the projects and stuff. We have so many categories of things, woodwork and photos, and we have different classes for the photos, so people can do the digital stuff as well and come in and win prizes and stuff, and it was nice to get it moved back up to where it really started up in the top of the fair house, and that building's been there since 1843. It was the first building built on the grounds, that and our fair office.
Is that right? Because actually, Joe Semplinsky and I were talking about that, because he jokes that the Republican booth has been in that same area since Lincoln.
Right, yeah.
It's just about the case. But it doesn't seem right not going through that building.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, and we do have an elevator to get upstairs too, so we are totally handicapped accessible in that area.
Yeah, so come over and say hi, but just enjoy in general. So finally, before we go, tips for people that have never attended. What should they know?
Just come in and plan on spending the day, because there is so much to see and do. To be honest with you, a few years ago, I had some people contact me that came over from England, and they were going to be touring. They'd never been to a rodeo before.
Oh my goodness!
So, and I did. To be honest, I did count them tickets to the rodeo.
Yeah, I would hope so.
And so they came over and met them. I gave them a tour and stuff. They were only going to spend the one night. They had such a good time. They didn't think they saw enough, so they came back the next day, and they changed their itinerary to spend 2 days at the fair, because there's so much to see and do, and and that's what's really satisfying about doing the job, and all the work that goes into it is hearing from the people that come back year after year, multiple times and stuff, and just enjoy what we're doing and really enjoy the fair, the whole fair atmosphere.
Well, and that's the thing, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. I think, especially if you have young kids or something, that you could spend more than one day there.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
I mean, I know there's deals, especially with the rides for like passes and things like that. But you would really have to rush if you wanted to get it all in. I don't think you could.
No. Yep. Yeah, we're 50 acres right there in the middle of the village, and then Coleman Brothers shows they fill up a good portion of it with the rides, and they do have a brand new Dumbo ride this year that they just put into service last week. They just got it in, and it went to its first fair last week. It's in Norwich this week, and they'll be coming to that next week, or today.
Yeah, they're going to start setting up today. That's right. Yeah, we're all over the place. Right, thank goodness I put the dates on the bottom of the screen. So I couldn't screw up. Well, thanks, Nick. Thanks so much for being on the program. Best of luck. Take it all in. Enjoy your fried dough.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. We look forward to seeing everybody there. Fantastic. Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When I was in law school, my father had to stop working when he developed early Alzheimer's. Social Security disability benefits saved my parents financially. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Now I'm a lawyer who helps people when they need Social Security disability. If you can't work, I'd like to help.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton toll-free 1-800-698-0567.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/BOI.
For years,
first, I thought it was just stress. But then it felt like I was stuck in a state of panic, obsessed with worry that something bad would happen if I didn't complete endless rituals. I realized I couldn't solve this on my own. So I made the call. I found a doctor who diagnosed me with OCD. Little by little, she's helping me manage my symptoms. Now I'm able to live more in the present.
Mental health care works when you make the call.
So frankly speaking, Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Some comments from viewers to AOC. Please run for the presidency and ensure that we will maintain a common sense Republican in control of our democracy. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. The DSA's rise is driven by the mass immigration, both legal and illegal. These people come here but don't leave their own beliefs behind, and they don't assimilate into our culture. They fall into separate communities. And the education system, indoctrination of our youth, has crushing results. The worst part is that this has happened right out in the open and nothing has been done about it. Trump is trying, but the rest of the government blocks him at every chance. Good point. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning. Maybe I missed it. Did you pick out a day when you're going to be at the booth? Yeah, at the Steuben County Fair, Thursday, from noon to 2. So stop by and say hi. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank, with an umbrella. Yes, it's a little wet out there. I can't even believe that AOC is considered the golden girl. To think of her as president is more than nauseating. Yeah. Well, we're going to hear a lot about her. Now, Gavin Newsom, though, they said with the change in the primary maps, the primary days, I should say, that it makes Gavin Newsom lose every single state. This is according to John Fleischman. The Democratic National Committee this weekend reshuffled the opening round of its 2028 presidential primary, and Gavin Newsom probably shouldn't be celebrating. The new calendar sends Democratic presidential candidates through South Carolina, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Michigan, and Virginia before the race broadens on Super Tuesday in early March of 2028. For Newsom, that's quite an itinerary. In state after state, opponents will have a chance to take pieces of the California record he has spent 7 years championing and introducing them to Democrat voters who may be considerably less enthusiastic. That matters because Newsom is no longer the bright, shiny object he was a year ago. He mastered the art of trolling Donald Trump when Trump was riding high. He became a fixture on national television and even more dominant on social media. But lately, national Democrats don't seem nearly as excited about Newsom and what he's selling. A July Emerson poll put Pete Buttigieg first at 19%, Newsom second at 17%, with John Ossoff and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 13%. In New Hampshire, AOC led at 22%, 1 point ahead of Buttigieg. Trump's approval ratings have fallen too. Attacking an unpopular Trump isn't much of a specialty act anymore. Plenty of Democrats can do it. If Newsom had any influence over the new calendar, it sure doesn't show. And I'm not going to go through each one. But they're suggesting that it could easily, the way it's set up right now, could easily be the end of Gavin Newsom's political career. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris, passed on running for governor, says she's considering another White House bid and continues building a national political presence. Newsom faces a crowded field, a potential California rival, and an opening calendar littered with pieces of his own record. Newsom wanted California to be his calling card. It may become his baggage. Jonathan Turley said that Gavin Newsom made his latest pitch to the mob by proclaiming himself an establishment insurgent. It was vintage Newsom, trying to be everything to everyone, part of the establishment and part of the revolution, like a violent pacifist or a preservation arsonist. It makes no sense to anyone else. However, with the victory of radicals across the country, Newsom is trying to join other armchair revolutionaries and seeking to lead the far-left mob. He believes that he can use a class war that will spare him while destroying his enemies. Call it the Danton delusion. In my book, this is Jonathan Turley, Rage of the Republic, the Unfinished Story of the American Revolution, I discussed the French Revolution and its decline into what the framers called a mobocracy. What became known as the Terror was started not by the working class, but by educated lawyers, journalists, and even aristocrats as part of the Jacobean movement. One of the central figures was a lawyer named George Jacques Danton, a gifted orator and writer. Danton would become the justice minister and later a member of the infamous Committee of Public Safety. The more he facilitated the rage, the more he found himself captured by it. Achieving power at the head of a mob, Danton fed the bloodlust of revolution, sending thousands to the guillotine and allegedly masterminding atrocities such as the September Massacre. Danton secured power by calling other dangerous reactionaries, declaring, "The bell we are about to ring sounds a change on the enemies of our country." Danton struggled to stay ahead of the mob by feeding victims into the grinder of a class war. Eventually, however, the mob had finished off the aristocrats, clergy, and merchants. The most radical Jacobins, led by his ally, turned on their fellow Jacobins, including Danton. Before his fall, it was dawning on Danton that there would be no end to the killings. While one supporter excitedly told him of more executions of moderates as guilty of fascism, Danton remarked, "We're all factitious. If they deserve to be guillotined, we all deserve. Those men in Paris will guillotine the entire republic." And so they did. Danton himself would stand before the National Razor on April 5th, 1794. Notably, the radicals today are calling for purges of the Democrat Party of moderates and denouncing dissenters as part of that same movement. Yet Newsom still hopes that he can use the mob for his own ambitions, ignoring Danton's warning, "Woe betide those who would provoke revolution." Without getting too much into this, but Jonathan Turley says, Newsom, the establishment insurgent, is desperately trying to be the next leader rather than the next trophy of the mob. History is not on his side. Well-coiffed hair and a hip podcast are not likely to be enough to keep the mob at bay. From New York to Colorado, the far left is taking establishment heads. In the end, Danton yielded one last time to feed the desire of the mob when he was finally taken to the guillotine. Danton told the executioner, "Show the people my head. It is well worth seeing." All right. We've got a couple of them. I can't believe it. We're almost out of time. All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Lease a brand new 2026 Chevy Equinox 1LT all-wheel drive with Gene Lease Loyalty or Conquest Bonus for only $389 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Chevrolet in Bath.
In the quiet corners of our country, everyday people with a love for the outdoors are leaving the world a little better than they found it. With no recognition or pat on the back, the reward is the rustle of leaves, the ripple of water, the call of the wild. These are the unsung heroes of the wetlands. Everyday people investing their time, their resources, and their hearts into conservation. They are the stewards of our most precious resources, ensuring that the magic of the outdoors lives on for future generations. Ducks Unlimited relies on the hard work and support of these individuals. Without their dedication, our mission to protect these vital ecosystems for those who draw inspiration and sustenance from them would remain out of reach. Join Ducks Unlimited and become part of a community of outdoor enthusiasts committed to preserving our wetlands for the next generations of unsung heroes. A public service from Ducks Unlimited.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. I see somewhere you can get signs for Bruce Blakeman in Elmira Heights, August 17th through the 19th. But I can't remember where in Elmira Heights. Did you hear where? I haven't. So if anybody knows, please send in the address or send in the location to that number on the bottom of your screen, 607-358-3131. It was reported over the weekend that Matthew McConaughey, the actor, he met with the Pope and then made it sound as if he has political ambitions. That's kind of like preparing a speech for winning an award that you don't know you're going to win yet. It's a bit of coup de grace. Don't do it because it's not going to get you, it's not going to go as you expected. So I had some ideas. I wanted to talk to him about religion in today's world and where it sits with him as our moral compass. Where is religion today? Why has it declined? Why do we see a surge in youth running toward it? They're tried other things. They tried other things, and they're seeing that they are vapid and don't really work because they're looking for more, looking for some structure. They're trying to get more than what the world around them has given them. It's a good reason to pick some things out of religion for sure. Anyway, he went on to basically suggest that he's going to be in politics. All right, a couple things here about New York State. There's an opinion piece by Kurt Ledoux, who wrote for USA Today and saying a 17-year-old approaches a woman at a Yonkers gas station, pulls a knife, and forces his way into the driver's seat of her car. She happens to be an off-duty New York State police officer. She fires a single shot, he is wounded, and he still manages to drive the stolen vehicle before he gets caught blocks away. He's charged with robbery in the first degree, a violent felony. Under New York's Raise the Age law, that is where the certainty ends. Once a case like this reaches court, the law presumes it belongs in family court unless prosecutors can convince a judge that extraordinary circumstances justify keeping it in the criminal system. For a violent felony, prosecutors get a three-part test. Did the offender display a weapon, cause significant injury, or commit a sex offense? But even meeting the test is no guarantee. New York courts have spent the past year trying to define extraordinary circumstances, and defense attorneys now advise clients that family court is the default, not the exception. I lead the New York State Police Investigators Association, representing more than 1,200 investigators and senior investigators with the state police officers who work homicide, robbery, and violent assault across the state. We are not attacking the merits of Raise the Age, but bringing attention to a policy that creates an atmosphere where juveniles can commit serious crimes without concern for repercussions. Diverting a 16-year-old shoplifter away from a criminal record is good policy, and NYSPIA isn't challenging that. We're asking Albany to confront what happens when the law's presumption towards family court collides with genuinely violent conduct and the consequences of that. In December of 2022, a Yonkers teenager driving without a license slammed his car into the cruiser of Yonkers Police Sergeant Frank Gallardo, killing him. Under Raise the Age, the case was handled as a juvenile matter. The teen was sentenced to 2 years of probation and community service. Gallardo's widow, Lisa, stood in court and told the defendant directly, "You can't possibly understand how shattered we are. You stole our lives from all of us." A family lost a husband and a father. The legal system offered a curfew. This case is not an outlier. It is what the statute is designed to produce, absent one of the narrow set of exemptions, and it is why NYSPIA believes judges, not a rigged statutory formula, should have the final say when the facts of a case cross a clear line into violence. We're not calling for the repeal of Raise the Age, and we're not asking to send teenagers accused of low-level nonviolent offenses into the adult system. The law's intent that a 16-year-old caught with marijuana or shoplifting doesn't need a criminal record remains sound. However, there needs to be consequences and accountability at all levels of offenses. So they're saying it's not compassion, it's a loophole. All right, I know. We got to take our last break. Get your last second comments in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
It's layaway your swimming pool time at Hesselsen's for next year. With Hesselsen's Easy Layaway Plan, only $500 down guarantees you this year's price and gets you on an early installation date for next year. But hurry in, as next year's list will fill fast. Same great pricing, same great service, same great installation. Come in early so you can enjoy your new swimming pool all summer long. Hesselsen's, your locally owned and operated swimming pool store since 1955, will always be there for you today, tomorrow, and for years to come. Remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselsen's.
Maybe it was a family vacation or a school field trip. But there you were, standing in awe at a national park. We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Today, tomorrow, forever. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
Good morning in Elmira. We're expecting to see chances for showers and thunderstorms here throughout the day. Winds will be out of the northwest following a cold front as well. So our temperature is not too bad. We are socked in with clouds, so showers are going to be kind of scattered in nature here across the entire area throughout much of Monday and into early on Tuesday. We could be seeing less than a quarter inch of rainfall here for many of us, and we'll expect to see those conditions stay a little bit cooler here throughout the next few.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam. Brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. A comment from a viewer, they found the information about the Bruce Blakeman signs, the pickup times on August 17th and 19th from 5:30 till 7 at 330 East 14th Street in Elmira Heights. So there you go. 330 East 14th Street, Elmira Heights. Blakeman signs, August 17th and 19th from 5:30 till 7. Hey, isn't that nice? Madeline, Ann, and Morgan are all at Grandpa's, and they say, hello, Frank. Well, hello, and good morning, everyone. Have fun. Enjoy your summer day. All right, we are just about out of time, but I had to mention this because we were talking about the crime and specifically raise the age. Okay, a Brooklyn socialist lawmaker has declared this week that shoplifters have a right to swipe items like soap and toothpaste from local stores without getting busted because of their, quote, biological need for the product. State Assemblywoman Emily Gallagher strongly suggested shoplifting could be legalized while joined at a news conference outside Manhattan Criminal Court on Thursday by other left-wing politicians and criminal justice advocates with Court Watch New York City. The group claimed it monitored 360 arraignments over 4 days and found more than half were for misdemeanor offenses. Quote, most of what we saw were crimes of poverty, people who are stealing things like toothpaste, people who are stealing things like, soap. And that means if you're stealing those things, you need them. And we are choosing to protect billion-dollar companies like CVS and Walgreens over the people who are struggling to get by. So I would say that the true crime is that there is such incredible wealth disparity in the city and that there are people who can be thrown in jail simply for having a biological need. The card-carrying member of the Democrat Socialists of America said she would continue to push for treatment, not jail punishments, all but ignoring the first-time shoplifting offenders rarely get jail time, and the lack of enforcement pushed by left-wing politicians like herself statewide has forced many drugstores to lock products in plastic cases. She and the other politicians at the event also called on fellow socialist mayor Zohran Mamdani to follow through on the campaign promise to end broken window policy, tactics by NYPD that target quality of life crimes like graffiti and fare evasion. Yeah, so it's a biological need to shoplift, that you should have a right to shoplift. Interesting. How about this? New York Post editorial board. 150 arrests, and he still walks free. Thanks to criminal justice reform, you can rack up almost 150 arrests in this town, meaning New York City, and still get to walk when caught again. Meet career crook Shaquan Seth, cut loose last week after five shoplifting busts in Queens. Less than 6 days after he got out of Rikers after a 5-month stint for previous thievery, because New York law forbids cash bail for offenses like Seth's. No matter what he has, no matter that he was no sooner back on the street than he was eagerly reoffending, nor that he stole $600 worth of fancy candies. When the no bail believers insist such theft is mostly out of need. No matter that he threatened to shoot a young female clerk who was brave enough to try to stop him. He was put right back on the street. So, you'll be reading about Shaquan Seth again. We hope it's not because he's made good on his promise to shoot someone. But that's what our reformed law encourages, years of offending and reoffending, as the perp gradually walks his way up from petty crime to homicide. Seth has already done jail time for larceny, robbery, resisting arrest, and assaulting a cop. It's clear he has much worse in him than just candy theft. He belongs in prison or conceivably locked up in a mental institution. The progressive lawmakers who made it all but impossible to keep such menaces from the street are still working to further empty New York jails and prisons, proving conclusively whose side they're on, and it isn't yours. So that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Good morning, Frank. Enjoy your day. Well, thank you. You too. I hope you have a great day. If you do the crime, do the time, not a slap on your hand. That's a very good point as well. From a different viewer. Ken writes in, I just saw not a comment for the show, so we'll save that till after. Thank you, Ken. And a couple of waves coming right the last minute. Boy, oh boy. Everybody have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow morning with Frankly Speaking, starting at 6 a.m. right here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. I look forward to it already.
We asked a few motorcycle friends, why do you ride?
You can just shout out to the world and nobody can hear you.
I love going out for miles and miles, hours and hours by myself.
It's a thrill that you are constantly chasing.
It's a way to get free.
I love the twisty roads.
It's not about the destination, it's about the ride, right?
Folks that ride should know. At William Attar, we understand you. And if you're ever injured on a motorcycle, we're ready to help. Call 444-4444.